happen if they try to escape. Like at one point, there's a funny moment where someone says something like, he said, I can't remember the line before it, but he says something like, "What do you think the guards are going to do?" or something like that. And then it just cuts to a guard seeing a bird that's trying to fly away, and it just shoots it dead. And he's like, I think he just said something. Like it's essentially just like
the guard with the sunglasses showing off how good of a sharpshooter he is throughout the whole movie is really hilarious, and actually does have some awesome payoff in the finale.
Yeah, it's great. And I just love those small moments of setup of definitely something that you're going to see later on when, you know, the inevitable escape tries to happen and all that. But it's a cool and collected way of like showing them why they feel afraid of these people. Obviously, like the power is obvious, but I just love those little small examples that they do with the filmmaking.
Yeah, well, and also once again, like similarly to Chain Gang, like showing them the position, the hierarchy of power, right? And like they're just more willing to like obey them like a good dog would in this film, which is why they have like the things where, you know, the first day when they're, you know, doing all the work that they're doing along the highway and they're chopping the tall grass down, and they're just like, you know, they're taking their shirts off. He's like, "Wipe it off here, boss. Wipe it off. Taking them off here, boss. Yeah, take it off." Like it is like this, almost like they've caved to the social order.
Yeah, they've given into the routine completely.
Yeah, and so Luke has obviously come to be like, why are you guys doing this? Especially too when they are like overtly even trying to torture you guys even more. Even though the torture in this is really funny, they just have like an incredibly built woman just sensually washing a car in a tight dress. You know, it's almost like a sexy car wash, like in a fucking like sex comedy or something like that.
Yeah, and all the boys are just like trying their best to get a glimpse because it's the only female that they've seen in God knows how long, they literally start like fantasizing about it and like trying to tell each other like horny stories to each other. It's so funny how this film does become just like guys hanging out. It's like shirtless, sweating, covered in dirt, eating beans, getting into fights with one another on their weekends when they have nothing to do but build up their resentments for each other throughout the week. They're actually allowed to challenge each other to like boxing fights in the yard, which is what George Kennedy and Paul Newman do on like the first day, which I like how it's shot in this way where the guards are clearly watching it for like spectacled entertainment, like it's like a gladiator fight. And so you get those wide shots, and then you jump into the handheld like POV shots of them actually boxing it out. And George Kennedy, obviously a much bigger man than Paul Newman, so it's really not like a fair fight. And but Paul Newman's whole mentality as Luke is like, you know, I need to show everyone that I can take a punch, like Rocky style. They're all saying stay down, you know, that you should end this. He's like, no, I'm gonna keep getting up. I'm gonna keep getting the fucking shit kicked out of me and kind of earn their respect, you know? Yeah, and he keeps going even once George Kennedy leaves. I love the shot, like it goes into a big wide shot, so you see the full circle in the yard, and George Kennedy just is like, I'm done, and just walks away, and Paul Newman is like limply swinging his arms still at like almost nothing. It's a great sequence. I really do love it. And I love prior to that, the guard basically tells them straight up, it's like Saturdays are fight day or something like that. He's like, during the week, there's no fighting. If you want to fight, Saturday.
Saturday is fucking fight night,
events.
You know, for
it's
you guys, because again it's the social order, right? It's like, here are all these rules and here's how they can
like, you know, even when you guys
assert themselves within it.
Even when you guys want to fight and express yourselves, which would be just punishing each other. Once again, it'd be like the prisoners going at each other. The guards still are in control of when that happens, how it happens, when it stops, all of that. So like even this kind of expression where they are truly expressing themselves, mostly frustration and anger, but it's something, and they still don't really have like the control over it that they probably deserve. So it's I did like that as well. And I guess the other kind of punishment that they have is, it's really like the box is the big one.
Yeah, the box is the big one. Yeah.
And I do say, for me, I mean, I wouldn't want any of this to happen to me, obviously, but
no, solitary confinement in like a sweating box in the middle of Florida where you can't see anything.
That's my hell. That's just unbelievable. And you can't, like, I'm claustrophobic.
You're probably getting splinters on your ass, you know?
And you're there, like, they show them there for days. Like, it's not just, and I hate the detail. It's so gross. The first time you see it, the guy is put into it. It's that first, one of the new guys when they pull the prank on him. They just take the 2 buckets and put it in there and close the door.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, the implication of that is just disgusting. Because once again, they're there for a couple days. So they're just sitting in their piss and shit and whatever else happens. And it's truly like, that would be hell for me. Like that just, it's nuts. And the way that they dish it out is pretty like nonchalant. They're just kind of like, the one guy, you know, he complains to the guards, so that's the punishment. But then eventually they just start doing preemptive things, like when, and we'll get to the detail of Luke's mom, but when his mom, there's news of him her passing, they think like, oh, well, he might maybe try to go to the funeral, so we're just going to put him in the box for 2 days so that he can think about it. Like, he hasn't done anything wrong, and I'm talking about Luke at this point. He hasn't done anything wrong. They're just like preemptively doing it just in case, and it's wild, like just how much power they exercise in that sense.
Yeah, they're almost framing it as like, you know, we understand that you're going to be in a dark headspace, and so we're helping you in a way by putting you in the box.
And they often do that. Like even when the guy warns him about like what happens after 1 escape and then 2 escapes, it's like first, because right now they don't have chains for the most part. And then once you try to escape and they bring you back, that's when
because these are all
like,
the well-behaved little boys, right? Like these
exactly.
are all the guys who don't need to be monitored as closely as the others. They get a couple more freedoms.